We don't need a new home for the Prime Minister. We need a new home for working class Canadians.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. So, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, housing prices have more than doubled, rents have more than doubled, mortgages have increased exponentially, the time it takes to save for a down payment has increased to 25 years, and the entire prospect of owning a home seems like a fantasy to many Canadians. So, naturally, Justin has made this his #1 priority, right?
Wrong. It turns out that Justin's priority right now is not building Canadians a house, it's finding a new spot to build his house with our money. Before we get into that, we would like to thank Nana Lynn and Kevin for buying us 6 pizzas between them. Now keep this channel growing strong by hitting that like button to help push this out to more viewers, and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of our next episode. If you would like to support the channel, please give us a super thanks by clicking the button below the video, or buy us a coffee or a pizza via the Buy Us Coffee link in the description. Now let's get into it.
Well, it is iconic and historic, but 24 Sussex Drive may never again be the Prime Minister's residence. The mansion has been empty since Stephen Harper left 8 years ago, owing to a long list of problems: mold, mice, ancient electrical wiring. It's in dire need of repairs and security upgrades. But sources are now telling Radio-Canada the federal government is looking instead at other sites in Ottawa to build a brand new official residence. Danielle Leblanc is with us from Ottawa this morning. Danielle, good to see you. Why, first of all, are they looking at moving rather than repairing?
Well, as you've laid out a long list of historical problems with 24 Sussex, government after government has let the building, the residence, go down. The big issue, though, for security experts is not necessarily the residence, but the land, the site on which it is built. According to these experts, it's too close to the road, Sussex Drive. Lots of cars go there every day. On the other side, it's along the Ottawa River, very visible from afar, also very close to the river, lots of traffic on the river as well. So based on the evolution of threats to political officials like the Prime Minister in 2023, the sense is to reinforce 24 Sussex, to meet those standards, would have to almost create a bunker. You need to protect against drone attacks. We've seen those in the Ukraine war. You need to protect against truck bombs, and the closer the residence is to the street, the more protection you need. Sniper attacks. So I spoke to 2 former senior federal officials who feel that 24 Sussex no longer fits the bill.
Drone attacks? Really? And I love how they're talking about, oh, there's all these threats to Trudeau in 2023. Yeah, well, maybe if you actually build houses for Canadians, they'd be sending you, flowers instead of threats. But come on. They're talking like roads are new. Cars are new. The river is new. Like that this wasn't here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But because it's Justin Trudeau, nah, you know what? Land's not big enough. We got to find a new spot to build a new mansion for him.
Well, my thing is that they seem to be quoting off things that are possible, but not necessarily likely. How likely is it that somebody's going to, pull up and do something as a sniper? Like, how likely is it that somebody's going to pull up with like a bomb on their boat on the river? Like, is it possible? Sure, lots of things are possible in life, but it doesn't mean that it's probable.
Well, and that's what we look at whenever you're talking about security, whether it's physical security, cyber security, site security. It's probability versus possibility. Like, the fact that the gentleman there said, well, we need to consider drone attacks because that was the case in the Ukraine war. Really? who's the nearest country that's going to launch a drone attack against Canada? I can't think of one. Ukraine actually had something to worry about since Russia annexed Crimea only years earlier. So there's a little bit of hostility there that they had to consider. And never mind the fact that it's Putin. Putin as a threat is not new to the world. So this doesn't make any sense. And the other thing is that they are trying to say that it's going to cost $36 million to retrofit 24 Sussex Drive. That's a ridiculous amount. I'm sorry, but it is. And government always massively inflates spending. There's a site I know about that is it's a government building, and the inspectors for the government came in and recommended that you need to have an accessible washroom. Fine. Well, that washroom, which normally should have cost about $20,000, ended up costing $100,000. Now, this is a washroom with one toilet and one sink. $100,000. So I'm more inclined to believe that the renovations at 24 Sussex Drive are probably reduced by a factor of 5. So it's not 36 million, it's probably in the neighborhood of 7 million. Still, that's taxpayer money, and that's probably going to be cheaper to retrofit that at 7 million than it is going to be to purchase new land or acquire new land and then build a whole new mansion. Just saying.
Well, currently they are renovating Parliament. If you go to Parliament Hill, we were there back in the summer. You can see that the main building and the Peace Tower is all closed down. Like the House of Commons has been moved to the West Block because they're renovating the main building. And that's to repair all of the pipes, I believe, the copper pipes. And also the copper wiring is what our MP told us, that all the copper wiring is really not in a good state. So they have to literally rip it all out of the walls and fix it. And it's going to go on until 2030, I believe is what he said. So I understand that old buildings need work periodically to bring them up to the current age. And you can't just go in there ripping everything out and making a huge awful mess because it's historic. You don't want to destroy the building itself. So I do understand that these things take time and that they can be expensive, but $36 million seems like overreach. Like that just seems crazy. I would really love to see what they have on that bill to see if some of it is, again, to protect against things that are not probable.
Indeed. So that's our take on this. Pierre also had some feedback on this as well. Let's listen in.
The federal government is seriously considering options to build a brand new official residence for the Prime Minister. What do you think of this move, and what would you do with the residence if you become Prime Minister?
Well, I think that this will be, of my list of priorities, this will probably be the last. We don't need a new home for the Prime Minister. We need a new home for working class Canadians. Yeah. I mean, Prime Minister has had one mansion where his food is cooked, another mansion where he lives, a third mansion on a lake, and that wasn't enough for him, so he built a second lakefront mansion with our money at Harrington Lake. He's been so focused on building mansions for himself that he's forgotten to get homes built for hardworking Canadians. My focus is on housing Canadians, not housing the Prime Minister. Thank you.
That pretty much sums it up. This is not the time to be going out and looking for a new site to build a new residence for the Prime Minister. Is it ideal that he's living in Rideau Hall or that he's living at Harrington Lake? No. However, maybe this is something that he should have planned over his first term or his second term. And you spread the cost out over multiple fiscal years. That way you're not really impacting the budget nearly as much. And that's showing, what's that word? Right. 2 words, actually. Fiscal responsibility.
Also foresight.
Also foresight. And then what I would then do is to avoid the fact that the houses that the Prime Minister is apparently living in fall into disrepair because for some reason there's no maintenance done on them year to year. Why don't you put in an annual maintenance plan so that they don't fall into disrepair? There's a thought.
The thing I don't understand is the rat problem. I mean, JT's not living there right now, so, you know, the biggest rat is gone. But people seem to forget that for millions of thousands of years before we had, you know, like advanced rodent trapping and things like that, that we used cats all the time. That's literally their job. Cats domesticated themselves because they figured out that where there's people, there's going to be rats for me to catch. And they did this at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, Russia, where they brought in a colony of cats and they let the cats live there. And now there's no rodents anymore. The cat's job is literally to keep the rodents at bay. They don't even have to hunt because the rodents will not settle there because they can smell the cats. And the cool thing about this place is that the whole basement is like overrun by the cats. That's their living quarters. They've got a veterinarian down there. They've got their kitchen down there. They all sleep down there. And then when the cats, some of them are not spayed or neutered. So when they have kittens, then they host adoptions through the museum and people can come and adopt a cat from the Hermitage Museum. That's my hot take. I think they can put a bunch of cats at 24 Sussex and kind of make it almost an attraction, you know, where you're finding homes for shelter cats and they've got a job to do. Many cats are happy hunting or just keeping the rodents away. And I think that would be kind of a win-win for everybody.
Well, the other option is that you build something onto the onto Parliament Hill. You already own the land. There's already an existing building there. And then it would be analogous to the White House because the President of the United States does most of his governing out of the White House. Yes, there's the Capitol buildings and Capitol Hill and all of that, but that's another option that they could do if they really wanted to look at this. But again, timing-wise, come on. This is not the time to be doing this. And I know government is slow and it takes some years to do things, but this isn't the time to be going shopping for the Prime Minister for some new digs. It's time to get to work and get Canadians the homes that they desperately need and that their hard-earned money desperately deserves.